Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Josh All, your host today, and I've got the annual tradition kicking off on this episode. That's right, it's time for Dogs by Nature staff writer Barry Shuck to join the show and tell us all about the prospects that he saw, that he charted, scouted, followed at the Senior Bowl in Mobile last week. Barry does this every year. He's down there all the time. Like I said in the episode the other day, we were supposed to be at the Senior Bowl for the first time this year, and Fern came and effed that up. And so we didn't go, but Barry, of course, was there coming up from Florida. He didn't get Fern down there. But, you Florida people, you guys got it so good. Got it so good. We're up here at 0, -15 wind chill, all that kind of stuff. It's great. But I digress. I quit complaining because it's time to dive into these prospects. With Barry Shuck today, again, these episodes go long, my conversations with Barry, so I'm breaking it down into two parts. Today will be the offense minus quarterbacks, because we tabled that discussion for the end. So today will be wide receivers, offensive line, and tight ends, positions that the Browns really need to address this offseason. Then on the next episode, make sure you guys stay tuned for that, will be the defensive side of the ball, D-line. We're going to talk linebackers, defensive, secondary, and then, of course, we're going to be talking about some quarterback. Nothing crazy for the Browns, obviously, because this draft isn't flush with the quarterback position, but we will have that discussion. And then we talk a little bit of Todd Monken in that one as well. So stay tuned for that. Before we kick it over to Barry, remind you guys, jointhedogs.com if you want to be part of the Dog Pack. Get in there. The Discord community is popping all the time, and it's going to get even more active as we go into the free agent period, draft season, all this stuff. So it's a great place to be to get your thoughts, opinions out there and discuss these things with like-minded Browns fans. It's jointhedogs.com. All right, let's kick it over now. No more to be said. It's time for my conversation with Barry Shuck. All right, everybody, like I said in the intro, I am joined, special guest Barry Shuck, Dogs by Nature staff writer, was down last week at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, and he's here, as always, every year at this point in time to share his takeaways, his observations, the notes he took down there about all these players at the Senior Bowl. Barry, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. It's where I'm living. It's 58 degrees. And, I wish everybody could be wearing flip-flops and shorts today. But unfortunately, everybody that has to do with this podcast, it is just me.
Yes, there will be no flip-flops and shorts on my end. It is still very cold up north here. Barry, down there in Florida, you lucky son of a gun, you. So I guess real quick before we start diving into prospects, just overall takeaways from the Senior Bowl. How was the week? How'd things go?
It was cold. That'd be the first and foremost. It was cold.
Yeah.
It was 30s all week with breezy every day, and then it got to in the 50s, and then when the Friday night a cold front came through, so for the game, which started at 2:30 Eastern time. It was really, really cold. The wind was in the 20s, but it was good. The quarterbacks this year were not elite. Last year we had Jackson Dart, we had Dylan Gabriel, we had Jalen Milroe, we had Tyler Shuck, and it was the whole story last year was about the quarterbacks. This year the quarterbacks weren't phenomenal at all. The belle of the ball was Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. He ended up being the game's MVP. He had a great week. But I think the story was Diego Pavia. And the only reason he was a story is because his media guide listed him at 207, 6'1". And the first thing you do on Sunday here at the Senior Bowl is they measure everything on a guy, hand, hips, thighs, you name it. And he measured out at 5'9" and 7/8", which is 5'10", and 198 pounds. And me standing next to him, I'm 5'11". I'm not much taller than hardly any quarterbacks, but I was taller than him. But the defensive line really balled out. The defensive line was extremely strong. this year, and some guys that I didn't realize were as good as they were. Some guys that were projected to be fourth and fifth rounders, I think now will be taken in the second. Guys that were top of the second now are going to be mid first round. And that was the story of it. And then what I do at the Senior Bowl is I take a list of what the Browns need. They don't need a quarterback in my eyes. They don't need a running back in my eyes. So I don't talk to those people. I don't make hardly any notes about those people. So, we don't need a safety, I don't believe. But a position that we probably don't need is cornerback, but yet there were some cornerbacks that balled out. I'm never opposed to taking a shutdown corner, a pass rushing defensive end. And of course, what we need more than anything is offensive line and receivers. So I was able to kind of focus on the offensive line a lot. I found a lot of good guys that'll be in the second and third round. I wish there was somebody. Now, this is just guys that showed up for the Senior Bowl. Doesn't mean there's not going to be an offensive lineman at 6 in the first round or 24 in the first round. I'm just saying who showed up and who participated in the Senior Bowl. There weren't any guys that will fit those spots. And that's another thing I do. I look at where the Browns are going to draft, and I don't try to focus my attention on a guy. If a guy is projected to be 15 or 16, what does that have to do with us? I mean, are we going to reach for him at 6? By the time we draft at 24, he's definitely gone. So I didn't focus on any of those other guys. And that's just kind of my strategy of how I deal with the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I like that strategy. It's a very similar strategy when I do like a mock draft.
Right.
For the Browns, I look at the consensus mock draft board and I think, okay, this is where we're picking. These are the guys. And you said kind of within like 5 spots before or after that pick to kind of see who could realistically be available there. So I think it's great what you do. And just for everybody out there, again, like, Barry's not down at the Senior Bowl scouting everybody because he's a fantasy analyst and he needs to, have every position and every player. No, he's down there specifically with the Browns in mind. And that's why his feedback on these players is so valuable to this show and to this fan base, because that's what we care about. We care about the Browns. What are the Browns going to do? What can they do? Who can come in here and help this team? And like you said, to kind of kick things off, we'll start at the 2 most important positions, in my opinion, and what you just said as well, for the Browns this year to focus on and get right is that offensive line and wide receiver group. So why don't we start with the sexy position? Let's start with the wide receivers, and give me the first name that you want to highlight at wide receiver from the Senior Bowl.
Ted Hurst.
My man.
Georgia State. Now, number one, when I got down there, I had no idea who Ted Hurst was. I had no idea where Georgia State was. I knew it was a D2 or D3 school. It is in Atlanta. I found out later. Ted Hurst is 6'3", 207, runs a 4.48 in the 40. He interview wise, he's not a great interview, but on the field, phenomenal hands, phenomenal jumping ability. That first step off the snap is just explosive, and it gets him in his route stem pretty quickly. And really what it does is it forces defensive backs to respect his vertical threat almost immediately. And he is a deep threat guy. He can absolutely fly. He's not big bodied, but he's tall. He's got a long reach, but they had him at all 3 receiver spots during the week. And when I say by have him, they do a bunch of drills with receivers. One's called the one-on-ones. That's where they'll have a receiver and a defensive back, whether it be a cornerback or a safety. And it could be a tight end or a receiver. And they just do a route with a quarterback. And there's nobody rushing. There's no blocking. There's none of that. They just do one-on-one. But they don't do it all day. The receiver goes down. He makes his cut. They throw it to him. And that happens just repeatedly. And because there's they do this on purpose. They do an odd number. So you're not always against the same guy each time. he just dominated in the one-on-ones. And what the Senior Bowl does is half the first round and half the second round last year played in the Senior Bowl. I think it was like 104 guys that were in the Senior Bowl ended up being drafted last year. So what they do is they pick some of the best defensive players and offensive players and bring them to this game and then have them compete against each other. He just dominated on the one-on-ones, but he looked real comfortable in all three receiving spots. I don't see him as a slot receiver. They did have him catch some passes. The other thing they do is what's called 7-on-7s. And that's where you just have 7 players against 7 players without any really rushing, without any blocking on it, just to do passing drills and coverage. Then they do 11-on-11, and that's usually there's 2 padded days, and they allow live hitting on Wednesday and Thursday. And they focus on hitting, and it's like live action except for hitting the quarterback and hitting the return man. But Ted Hurst, I think his ball skills just kind of jump off the screen, and he's got consistent tracking ability downfield. And looking at his blocking, he's a willing blocker downfield because he's got a big body. He is able to handle that. He uses that 6'3" frame intelligently on contested catches.
Ted Hurst is a guy that I learned about maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. Haven't done a deep dive or anything like that. Just a name that I've been mentioning here and there on the podcast and social media is just keep an eye on this guy, Ted Hurst. And to hear you say that coming from this small school into this Senior Bowl, essentially all-star game where, like you said, it's the best defensive players, the best senior defensive players from around the nation are here. And he's coming up from this small school. Nobody knows who he is, and he's dominating those guys at that level. To me, that's a huge leap from looking at his stats and looking at his projections to actually seeing what he can do against that top competition. For anybody wondering, I do have stats pulled up. So he had 125 targets this past season, 71 catches for 999 yards, just one simple little yard shy of 1,000, and he had 6 touchdowns. So I'm very intrigued by Ted Hurst. I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah, and like I said, he came from a small school. Another small school guy was Tyron Montgomery.
Okay.
He came from John Carroll. I don't have many notes on him, but he pretty much dominated. He's 5'11", 190. But he was those two guys, because they came from small schools, they were just everywhere. They were making acrobatic catches.
This episode is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Browns fans, I know I can't be the only one. Have you ever searched something random like, I don't know, how to make French toast, and suddenly you're getting ads for all kinds of different recipes? Yeah, me too. It's a bit scary how much the internet seems to know about me these days. Thankfully, today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, can help us out with that. A VPN is a virtual private network which allows me to mask my real IP address. It's like putting a guardian cap on my online data, essentially meaning that my activity online is safe and no longer being tracked. Ever wonder just how much of your personal identity is floating around online? Every click, every scroll, every late night mock draft that you do, all of it can be logged, tracked, and sold. With Surfshark, all that data stays yours. When I'm connected, Surfshark encrypts everything I do online, so even my internet provider or nosy advertisers can't see what I'm up to. It's like finally being able to shut the blinds on your digital life, total privacy, total control, and honestly, it's a relief knowing I can browse freely without constantly worrying who's watching. And this is a big one for me. Surfshark does not keep logs, like at all. That means even if someone wanted to see what I've been up to online, there's literally nothing to show them. Most people don't realize this, but some VPNs do keep records of your activity, which kind of defeats the point of privacy, right? Surfshark's strict no logs policy means they don't monitor, track, or store any of your browsing data. It's like wiping your digital footprints clean the second you take a step. I find that so reassuring knowing that what I do online stays my business and no one else's. And Surfshark has other great products like their antivirus add-on. We tend to think viruses are a laptop problem, but they can hit phones, tablets, anything really. That's why Surfshark Antivirus is such a smart add-on. It's built right into the app and runs quietly in the background, protecting against malware, Trojans, and all that nasty stuff that can sneak in from downloads or dodgy sites. I love that I don't need a separate antivirus subscription. Surfshark just handles it. It's one less thing to worry about and one more reason I feel properly covered online. So start protecting your online identity today with Surfshark. You can try it right now with a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to surfshark.com/dogs, DAWGS, or use code DOGS at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. Link and code are in the description. Surfshark.com/dogs, code DOGS.
A guy who really balled out, and I would say was the best receiver there, was Malachi Fields from Notre Dame. 6'4", 218, runs a 4.5 in the 40. Nobody was better than Fields all from practice 1 to practice 2 to practice 3. I mean, everybody had their moment and everybody had their day, but Fields was there all 3 days as being a reliable target. He's got overwhelming size to speed combination. And he's got enough functional athleticism to separate and threaten defenses vertically, despite his average his speed. Natural hands, soft hands. He really good at the high point, knows when to jump, knows where the high point is on the catch point. And because of his size, he's 6'4", he's able to out jump a lot of these DBs. A lot of DBs are 5'11", 6 foot, maybe 6'1". So he's already got a height differential on him. And then just his leaping ability. My God, he just get up there. He is downright nasty when he goes up and contests on catches. Uses his body, uses his elbow, uses his hands. He shows advanced understanding of leverage against man-to-man coverage. It's a Senior Bowl. They don't do a lot of zone except in the game. So it's a lot of man-on-man. And he does transition. They used him quite a bit on some jet sweeps. He does transition smoothly from being a receiver to a runner. And he's got really surprisingly wiggle and strength after the catch.
That's awesome. Yeah, Malachi Fields was another guy that obviously he made a lot of headlines at the Senior Bowl. It was in the game, right, where he had the big catch early, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember that correctly. But yeah, Malachi Fields, Ted Hurst, when you're looking at these guys as potential options for the Browns, where are you projecting them to go in the draft, especially after the Senior Bowl? And with what pick are you looking at them for the Browns?
Well, I didn't even see Ted Hurst on any big board. Okay. So we're talking about day 3 free agent. I'd put him 4th round now. Okay. He will definitely. Fields he came into the Senior Bowl as a late 3rd rounder. He could wiggle himself into the 2nd round now. Okay.
Yeah, that's both of these guys have been definitely interesting risers here through the process. So
for the Browns, if they took the number 6 pick, and let's say that there's not an offensive tackle there, if they took an edge rusher instead, and then at the 24th pick, if they took their offensive lineman there, they could conceivably take Fields with their first pick in the 2nd round.
Okay, that's interesting.
Then they would take care of it, edge rusher, offensive lineman, receiver. Then they could do the best player available at all their picks.
It's true. I know there's been some argument over best player available strategy versus drafting for need, which it's tough because when you're the Browns and you've got all these premium positions of desperate need, it's kind of tough to just take best player available and then continue to leave those positions that you really need to fill, kind of leave them weak. Because we saw what happened.
I believe in best player available. A lot of people think that you have to draft for need, but let's just say that we've got Quinshon Judkins, and let's say we got Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb is the old Nick Chubb. So we're good on running back, right? And let's say that this is the draft that we're picking 6, and Barry Sanders is in the draft. Emmitt Smith's in the draft. Eric Dickerson's in the draft. Do you just say, well, hey, we're good at running back. Why don't we need another running back? Or do you take Barry Sanders and then worry about whether Judkins or Nick Chubb is the one that gets the pink slip? That's the way I look at it. It's the same thing with quarterback. You say, hey, we're good with quarterback. We've got Deshaun, we got Shador, we got Dylan Gabriel, but here's Joe Montana, here's Dan Marino. I mean, do you just pass on those guys because you're good at the position? I believe in best player available. That's how I would do my strategy.
Or if you're good at, especially a position like quarterback, where some other team who's not set at quarterback could be vying for that pick, that's where you would put it out there on the trade table and say, hey, if you want this guy, come up and get him, but what are you going to give me for that pick?
Yeah, I did an interview with Ernie Accorsi, and he was a GM of the Browns. He was GM of the Colts when they drafted John Elway. And I asked him, I said, why did you, John Elway said, I'm not coming to Baltimore. Why did you draft him? He said, well, he's got market value. He said, he may not ever play for us, but he's going to play for somebody, and I'm going to get whatever comes with that. And sure enough, that's what happened. They ended up trading him to the Denver Broncos. Of course, he was with the Giants when he traded for Eli Manning, who was the first overall pick of the Chargers, and he traded for him. And then, of course, he is the one that drafted Bernie Kosar. So he's had 3 huge quarterbacks in his life that he's been a part of.
That's crazy, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if you look at it that way, too, the Browns sort of did the same thing last year in the draft. They had already taken Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. Then they doubled up the position in the 5th round when Shador Sanders was still sitting there. And Andrew Berry's like, this is the positional value of getting this guy in the 5th round. I just can't pass it up. So that's kind of how that whole situation played out. Okay, so I guess that kind of does it here for these wide receivers. Now let's shift over to the trenches, because another big debate, obviously, when Browns fans are talking about these first round picks, do you go offensive line first? Do you go receiver first? What do you do? We need to build up the line and all this. So at the Senior Bowl, who were the offensive linemen that you saw that you think could be in play for the Browns?
Well, let me ask you something, Josh. Do you think we need a center? Do you think that they're going to re-sign Ethan Posick?
I don't think they're re-signing Ethan Posick, no.
Yeah. Because, the last time they did an extension with him, they did it during the season. Before the season ended, he was on a 1-year deal, and then they gave him a 3-year contract. And, I haven't heard anything about an extension on that. Well, and I think Luke Weichler, they want him to play guard, even though he is a true center from Ohio State. Unless there's an emergency situation, it's like last year with Posick got hurt in the final game. They didn't move Weichler from guard to center. They brought in Zach Zinter, and he played center. So I think they want Weichler to be guard. Did you see that?
I did not see that. No, I was.
Okay.
All right. As far as my future projection for the line, I've been using Weichler, but I've been using him more as like, well, maybe he could be the center. I know he can play guard. I wasn't aware that they were, I guess, preferring him to play guard, but that's interesting, especially now with the entirely new offensive staff coming in, new O-line coach. We'll see what their preference is for a guy like that. My guy in free agency, I'm hoping the Browns are somehow able to lure Tyler Linderbaum to Cleveland, now getting Todd Monken and the O-line coach and the run game coordinator as the OC, all these guys from Baltimore. Mm-hmm. Maybe it'll be more enticing for a guy like Linderbaum, and we put enough money in his bank account. Maybe he'll come here. Yeah,
that's the way it works. Well, I found a center at the Senior Bowl. His name is Jake Slaughter. He's from the University of Florida, 6'4", 305, intelligent guy, very well spoken. I can tell he could be an attorney if he wasn't so big. I would say that he's got surgical pass protection technique. He is just a brute of a man. He demonstrated some savant level mental processing when diagnosing blitzes. At Senior Bowl, they blitz some. They don't blitz a whole lot. They don't do any stunts because it's only a week and you got guys for 4, 5, 6 days. But he does exhibit a powerful initial punch. in the run blocking, and he had excellent timing that consistently would kind of overpower defenders backwards, which created an immediate vertical displacement that translated directly to the running game and to the ground attack. I think he's a very tough guy. He's a very pleasant guy off the field, but on the field, he's nasty.
Good.
He's absolutely nasty. He doesn't care. He doesn't care who you are. He doesn't care what decals on your helmet. He brought exceptional movement skills on counters and traps, and he demonstrated loose hips and natural balance. I think that would be a great guy to bring in. I'm going to say round 4 to play for the center position. We got to do something. And like I said, I don't think Weipler is the answer to the center position. But it didn't seem like, now, of course, the new coaching staff may look at it different, but it didn't seem like that they wanted Weipler to play center. And Zach Zinner, I think, is got one foot out the door.
Seems like it.
Yeah, unless Bill Callahan can come back. If Bill Callahan comes back, Zinner will be a good project and a good backup guard. But he looks like he's got one foot out the door. They just haven't seemed to want to use him, and he just hasn't developed like they thought that he would.
Well, the only way Zinter's getting Callahan to coach him is if we trade him down to Atlanta. But yeah, I have not. I've been very disappointed with Zach Zinter for the draft. High third round pick that we used on Zach Zinter. Hopefully, at the time it was like, let's get this guy in here. We need some young up and coming developmental linemen to eventually start for these older guys that are phasing out. Just hasn't been that dude. So you got Jake Slaughter, and who's next on your list for offensive line?
My favorite guy in the entire Senior Bowl, Jennings Dunker.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's dude, man. I love that guy.
6'5", 320. I've seen pictures of him groomed. He looks like a nice young man, but at the Senior Bowl, he's got red hair. It's orange, excuse me. He got orange hair, and it was long. It was after a practice, so he's sweaty, he's dirty, he's nasty. He smells like football. If you've ever been on a football field, football smells like grass and man sweat. That is the scent of football. That's why they haven't put it in an aerosol can and tried to sell it in stores. His hair was long. He looks like a lumberjack. He looked like he just came off of a logging truck and just was walking up. You talk about a nasty guy. This guy is a horrible guy on the field as far as temperament goes. Not a great interview, not very personable, not very nice, kind of to the point, not a lot of keeping the conversation going. I talked about his mom a little bit. He didn't want to talk about that. I think he just generates a lot of violent movement at the point of attack. He's got exceptional leg drive. He looks like his legs were just kind of stumps or just kind of cut off. Huge leg drive, got upper body torque, and it consistently displaces defenders in the run game. He was moving everybody in the one-on-ones. He was the one of two players that nobody ever got around. And the defensive line in the Senior Bowl this year was top-notch, superior. And we're not talking about one guy stood out or two guys. I can name 6, 7, 8 guys that had great weeks that just balled out. Nobody got past Dunker. Once he gets his hands and they land clean, his defender's locked in place. He's got grip strength, and he's got the ability to steer blocks that were the best in his in the Senior Bowl of this week. And he plays with a nasty disposition. He just doesn't like anybody. He doesn't like his own teammates. He doesn't like the one across. He doesn't like reporters. Nothing.
He's all football, huh?
He's just all football. His anchor is sturdy enough to store bull rushes. He didn't get bull rushed by anybody, and he didn't give away any ground. And I think his footwork timing is refined on angle blocks.
Okay, now where did they have him lining up and playing primarily at the Senior Bowl? Because I know a lot of outlets and sites have him listed as an offensive tackle. Mm-hmm. I've been reading more where he's probably going to end up moving into guard at the NFL level. Where did you see him down there?
Well, at Iowa, he played right tackle his last year, but he had played in his freshman year, he had played guard. Okay. In high school, he had played some guard, he had played some tackle. But they had him at right tackle the first day, and the rest of the week they had him at right guard.
Okay, that's what I thought. And honestly, I know it's an easy comparison to make, but Browns fans, we loved what Wyatt Teller brought to this team when he came in here at right guard, and just the nasty mauling nature of his play style, before things kind of tapered off here in the last year or two. I feel like getting a guy like Jennings Dunker, I know a lot of fans out there love this kid and what he could be for this offensive line, especially with the coaching staff Monken's bringing in here. It seems like there's going to be a heavy focus on establishing that run game, a power run game, and Jennings Dunker would be key to getting that going.
Yeah, and I think he would play guard, even though he's big enough. He's big enough to replace Conklin over there at right tackle. 6'5", 320 pounds.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what they're going to do with Teller. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Joel Bitonio. Is he going to retire? Conklin's got a year on his contract, but he's always hurt.
Mm-hmm.
DeJuan Jones has got 2 more years on his contract. He's played, 1 more year. He's played for us 3 years, and he's been on IR 3 years. So we need guys. We could, Josh, essentially we could replace all 5 guys.
Oh, for sure. Yes. We've been saying that on this show for months. Like, we need all 5 new linemen, most likely.
Yeah. Well, Dunker would take care of a position, whether it's right guard or right tackle.
Well, that kind of versatility plays to, like, I think Andrew Berry likes that in players where it's, okay, I have a spot for you, but if I need you over here, we can do that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. My second favorite offensive lineman, and I love offensive linemen. I like specialists and I like offensive line. Even though I played middle linebacker in high school, I love offensive linemen and specialists. They are the nicest people to talk to interview. They like the attention. They'll say whatever you want, whatever question you got, and spend time. Nobody else does that, but all of them are that way. Okay, I'm going to have trouble with his last name, but his first name is Max, and he went to Arizona State. It is Hinachor. And if I bastardize that name, forgive me. 6'6", 325. He didn't even play high school football. He was a soccer and basketball player. He was in AAU. He originally came from Nigeria. That's where he grew up, and he played soccer and basketball in Nigeria. He ended up in Los Angeles in an AAU program. His AAU basketball coach told him that he should pursue football at the college level. He went to a JUCO for 2 years, and then the JUCO head coach got a job with Arizona State and brought him with him. And he said, just trust me. Come with me. And that was his story. So, and you would think, well, he's just, he, of course, as a freshman, he didn't play much. And you'd think, well, he's only got three years underneath him. But this guy can block. Nobody bull rushed him. Nobody moved him. He's got awareness from soccer and basketball. And I think that created some instinctive understanding of, especially like leverage points and body positioning. He's got grip strength. He locks on to defenders like they're a vice. And he's got natural knee bend and hip that sinks in, that takes years for most linemen to develop. He learns and he learns and he learns. And he'd say, once I'm taught it, I learned. Extremely intelligent guy. In interviewing him, he doesn't have that African Nigerian accent that most guys have. He talked like a guy from the Midwest. That shocked me because I knew he was from Nigeria, and I just expected that. A lot of guys just have that accent. His recovery athleticism will bail him out when he's beaten. Shows nastiness, and he does finish blocks through the whistle. And I just think he's going to be a tremendous pick. Now, he's going to be a second-round pick.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's going to be he came into the Senior Bowl as a fourth rounder, maybe round 5, but he is a solid second-round pick. Now, whether that's in the middle of the round or the top of it, but he was the best offensive tackle. If you take Dunker and categorize him as a guard, Max was definitely the best offensive tackle. And we're talking about there were plenty of offensive tackles that balled out and showed out, but he was the best overall. And really, he's only got 3 years experience. So that was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, and I knew we were going to talk about him, and I meant to look it up, how to pronounce his name before the show, and I forgot, but I just did. So it's Iheanacho. Max Iheanacho. So we could just call him Nacho. I don't know. Something to make it simple. But yeah, definitely impressed with what I was reading and just in the game and everything like from this kid. So that's awesome that he was the best tackle there. This episode is partnered with Kalshi. Browns fans, are you ready to put your money where your predictions are? With Kalshi, America's #1 regulated prediction market, you can legally trade on events that actually matter to you. And the best part is you don't need to predict specific stat lines and compile a 7-leg parlay just to win big. With Kalshi, the objective is either yes or no. Will Shedeur Sanders be the Browns' Week 1 starting quarterback? Will the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl? Will Fernando Mendoza be the first overall pick in the NFL draft? And in other sports, will the Cavs make the NBA playoffs? You can put your money on these predictions and more with Kalshi. If you want to try it out, Kalshi is giving $10 to anyone who signs up at kalshi.com/dogs and trades $100. Get away from disadvantageous sports books and dive into real-world outcomes with real-time odds and real payouts. Head over to Kalshi, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS, or just click the link in the description to get $10 when you trade $100 with Kalshi. Because why shouldn't you get paid for being right?
Yeah, another good tackle was Jude Bowery from Boston College, 6'5", 314 pounds. He's got natural kick slide explosiveness. Good gap strength, allows him to snatch and control defenders' hands once he latches on properly. Really, really good down blocker who can uproot 5 techs and maybe wash 4 techs completely out of their gaps. Light feet, natural ability, good zone blocker schemes. What else? Strong anchor. And he also showed excellent suddenness when he came off the snap. And wide base with the sturdy frame. I think he's going to be a good, solid third-round pick. He came in the Senior Bowl a fourth-round pick, and I definitely think he's going to slide up.
Okay, great. That's a good name because that's somebody who I was actually just reading about this morning. I was doing a little draft prep research for some future episodes and things like that. So Jude Bowery was a guy that I did a little reading, and he intrigued me on that. So it's good to know that you saw him and felt the same thing.
In my research with him, I found out he only allowed 2 sacks all year.
That's great. Those kind of numbers are definitely a welcomed stat for Browns fans after what we've watched the last couple seasons.
Yeah. Do you know about the Feldman Freaks list?
Yes.
Okay. He made the 2025 list.
Okay. Well, that's always good too.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason behind that is that he did 5 reps on back squats of 435 pounds.
Jeez.
I mean, think about doing 1 rep.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't even want to. My knee's already hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you there.
So, okay, so we've got Max Ihe Notchor. I know I got to say that slowly. Jude Bowery, and there was a third tackle. Was that correct?
Austin Barber. He's also from Florida. I thought he was a basketball player. When I first saw him at Media Day, I thought he was a basketball player. I didn't know that I thought, well, maybe he's a tight end. 6'7". Now he is 318 pounds, but he is a very lean 318 pounds. You know, a lot of offensive tackles are just fat guys. They got the belly, they got the arms, and their thighs are just friggin' huge. But Barber didn't look like that at all. He just looked lean and was standing there and with the backpack on. And I said, let me figure out who this guy is first. In my notes, he's got exceptional lateral agility, which allows him to mirror speed rushers. A speed rusher never got past him all week.
Nice.
Now, he has a little tendency to allow an inside move on him, but he's got good arm length that allows him to connect. He played left tackle mostly at the Senior Bowl. He's got that long arm, which allows him to connect the speed rusher and at least put a hand on his pads to where he can start shoving him to the outside. And that created some early engagement opportunities, and he was able to control the point of attack with his hand combat sequences. Getting that hand on that edge rusher is critical for an offensive tackle. If a guy is going to try to bend and lean on you and try to get around the outside corner of you, the idea is to just start pushing this guy and pushing him and pushing him. That's what Dwan Jones does. He's got such long arms. Mm-hmm. He just engages the guy and just pushes him deep, and pretty soon he's way beyond the pocket and out of play, and doesn't have to worry about that. His Barber's hand placement consistency, he will hit the chest plates regularly. He sustains his block, which is critical for an offensive tackle. He's got second level mobility. Once he pushes his guy and the play goes and the runner goes, he instantly takes off downfield. A lot of guys like Jed Wells would just stand there, and watch the play like he's got a front row seat. He has versatility. They didn't play him at right tackle, but from what my understanding is, he has played both tackle positions. So, and he could provide swing tackle value if we have Conklin and Jones coming back, and that's what the coaching staff wants to do, is to keep them. He could be an excellent swing tackle.
That's awesome. Yeah, again, that versatility to the left, right side and the swing tackle potential. I love it. Those are some great names for the offensive line, great names to keep in mind, especially as we go in through draft season here, and I'm putting together mock drafts and things like that. So I really appreciate you bringing those names to the table here. So then also kind of the middle ground between being an offensive lineman, being a receiver, we got tight ends. And the Browns are going to need to add a tight end or two maybe in free agency or the draft or whatever to kind of bolster that position, because Harold Fannin Jr. was phenomenal as a rookie, but he is not your traditional in-line blocking tight end, your big-bodied kind of guy. So who at the tight end position did you see at the Senior Bowl?
I focused on two, and one will be drafted about round 3, and the other guy, even though he was projected to be a day 3 guy, I just kind of stayed on him. I just kind of watched him. I took a lot of notes on him, and I'll tell you about him. But the first guy is Justin Jolly for North Carolina State, 6'3", 251. He's not going to beat you to the flag. His 40 time is not that great. Now, if there's a buffet, he may run and be the first guy in line. But other than that, he doesn't have great speed. He doesn't have great quickness. What he does have is he can win at the catch point because he's a former basketball player in high school. In fact, he was a
Okay.
star basketball player in high school. So he knows how to box out for rebounds. He knows how to get those difficult grabs through body contact and hand fighting and arm fighting and rubbing bodies and pushing and shoving. He's got sneaky hip flexibility and footwork that pretty much gets defensive ends on their heels in intermediate zone catches. His ball tracking was incredible. It reminds you of a center fielder, just a very smooth adjustment of his body to find out where the ball is going to end up, and then his high point catch. He knows how to jump. He's a basketball player. He knows how to jump. He knows how to go to the high point to get the rebound. He knows how to go to the high point and get the football. And in live practices, he will run through arm tackles. You've got to hit him squarely in the thighs or grab his knees in order to bring him down. And he looks like he plays with surprising anger for somebody who started his career at wide receiver weight and then eventually got heavier to where he is now. He's got route tree diversity. He can play inline. He can play slot. He can play split wide formations. Now, can he block? Yes, sir.
Okay.
He can definitely
That's
block.
the big one.
He can definitely block. He is a phenomenal blocker. And he continues to block. So if he pushes his man to the left and the runner has already gone by, he's looking for the next guy to block. He's a good downfield blocker. He will push guys completely out of bounds. He knows how to engage and stay engaged. That, a lot of guys block with their palms and they'll push a guy, but because the runner is behind them, whether it's a receiver or a running back, they don't know where the running back's trying to go, but they'll take a guy and just push him and they can't see behind themselves. Well, what you have to do is you have to stay engaged. You don't just push a guy and let him go and then try to push him again, because now he's moved left or right trying to make the tackle. Now you got to re-engage with him. That's not what Jolly does. Jolly engages with the receiver, with a defensive back downfield or a linebacker, and he stays engaged, and he's continually moving his arms and his elbows and his shoulder pads as the guy starts to go left, and then he goes to his right, and he stays engaged, and he's just a tremendous blocker.
That's great. That is some great information on Justin Jolly. I'm very intrigued by him after hearing your description and everything you saw from him there. Who was the second guy?
Tanner Cosell, University of Houston. I was looking at the Senior Bowl roster for tight ends. I was looking at where the Browns were drafting, and that's how I chose Jolly. None of the other tight ends were anywhere near where we were going to draft in all rounds, except for the last round. That's where I think Cosell will end up. I think he'll be a 6th, 7th round pick. But I just watched him. I just took notes on him. The interview was good. Talking with him was great. Very pleasant, very well-spoken, 6'6", 245 pounds. And he runs a 4.76 in the 40. I just think he's going to be a project. He's got some weaknesses. He lacks the initial burst and explosiveness off the line. His route running needs some refinement, but he is a physical guy. He's got versatility to line up anywhere along the offensive line formation, from traditional tight end spots to split end to an oversized receiver. And his jumping ability is phenomenal. Again, another high school basketball guy. I think Red Zone speaks highly of him. I think you just take the ball and just do an alley-oop to him. Nobody's going to out-jump him. He's a durable competitor, and he's played 36 games without coming out, never missed a game in college.
Oh.
He's got a high football IQ. And even though his route running needs to be defined, he does make adjustments when running his route, and he's able to find the soft spots in zone coverage.
He sounds like a really good sleeper name at the tight end position, which is a spot where you can get some help for your offense, especially in the receiving game, if you find some of these hidden gems later in the draft. So that's a great one. I'm glad you brought him up.
Yeah, I just kind of took him as my project during the week.
That's awesome. That's another good name to keep in mind here. Okay, we're going to wrap this conversation right there. You guys know I said in the beginning, the next episode will be the part 2 of this conversation with Barry Shuck. We're going to be doing the defensive side of the ball. That wraps everything up today for the offensive side. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who did Barry bring up that you want the Browns to specifically target in the draft? I know for me, it's a guy like Ted Hurst at wide receiver. I've just really... I told people a couple weeks ago, I think by the time we're all said and done here in the draft process, heading into April, Ted Hurst is going to be a my guy. I'm not saying that's the way it is yet, but that's the way I feel like it's going. I'm really high on a guy like Ted Hurst. There were some great offensive linemen that Barry talked about. I mean, Slaughter, Dunker, Nacho. Man, I need to learn how to say that kid's name. Bowery, Barber. We can get some linemen, and none of these guys we're talking about are first rounders. So, like I said previously, the offensive line depth that the Browns should be able to address in the mid, like second, third round areas of the draft, we could get some starters there. We really could if we do it right. So that great conversation here with Barry. Again, let me know what you guys think. Dogsbynature.com. Go follow Barry. Read his work. He's phenomenal. He does such a great job. And then follow him on Twitter as well. Just look him up. And that's going to do it for today. Again, join thedogs.com if you want to get in the discussion in the Dog Pack community with the Discord. And I will see you guys in the next episode talking about the defensive prospects and the quarterbacks from the Senior Bowl.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box for Pets. Browns fans, we love our fellow dogs, our Dog Pack members, and the Dog Pound faithful, but let's not kid ourselves. The most important dogs in our lives are, well, our dogs. Your furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. But the question is, what are you actually feeding them? Head to butcherbox4pets.com/products to see all the options for your dogs, including fresh and dry foods, treats, meal toppers, and even toys for your dog. If you're not sure what your dog will like best, try the Premium Nutrition Adult Starter Pack, and they even have a vacation bundle to take care of your four-legged friends while you're on vacation this summer. And right now you can get 20% off your order with promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain zero artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line is your dogs are getting the nutrition and the value they need and honestly that they deserve. I know our home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden retriever who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog. He is not, but it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of just that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to go. ButcherBox for Pets delivers their high-quality food right to your door. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/products and use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 20% off your order. It's time for us dogs to give our dogs the nutrition they deserve.